Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I tell you, what an honor to have this special guest with us today. Now, his father has been on the Dove radio since 1983. That's how long we have carried Dr. Dobson's program on the Dove radio network and then Family Talk now. But I am delighted to have with us his son, Ryan Dobson, who's a best-selling author, a speaker. He co-hosts a show with his father, Family Talk, and we're here to talk to him about their new series, book and film series, Building a Family Legacy. And Ryan, I have to tell you, I'm holding in my hand, and I don't think you can see it. In fact, I know you can't. But I'm holding in my hand here a ping pong paddle, and on one side is your dad's signature, and on the other side is your signature.
That's the day I got engaged at Anaheim, NRB. Oh, what was it? 2004?
I don't know. I didn't put the date on. All I know, I had two swings at the ball with you, and you got me.
Uh-oh. That was a good time. We had a great trip that trip. It was Valentine's Day. It was 2005, and I gave my wife a surfboard for Valentine's Day, and then I had an engagement ring for, and I got engaged that night. So, wow. Been 9 years. I'm still married.
Congratulations. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing, Perry?
Good. Good to see you. Thanks for what you guys do. You do a terrific job, and we're honored to carry your program all of these years. And wow, your new series is terrific. What made you and your dad sit down and go down this road?
It was actually me. About 5 years ago, I was in my parents' basement. I don't even know what I was doing there, and I found a shelf full of DVDs. And so I was looking through it, seeing if that's something I want to watch. And I found a copy of the original film series, and it wasn't a good copy. I mean, the original film series was filmed on video, transferred to film, then it was transferred back to VHS, and this was then transferred to DVD. But I thought it'd be funny to see my dad in the 70s, and it did not disappoint. I mean, he's got a huge tie and wide lapels, sideburns, big glasses. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
But you forget 5 minutes in. It's so captivating. And I remember thinking when I was done with the very first film that I was going to be a better dad and a better father. And so my wife and I watched the rest of the series. Our friends were watching it. We're giving it to my friends. And I called my dad. I'm like, this stuff is great. And he was like, yeah, I mean, you agree with 100 million people. Yeah. I'd never seen it before. I was 9 when it came out, and I started pushing him to let me re-release it. And he was like, Ryan, this is 30 years old. No one wants it. And I said, everybody needs this now. Every new parent, every new married couple needs this. So it's been a little over 5 years now. We remastered 3 of the originals from the 70s because you just can't change them. They're too good. My dad did 4 of them. I did 1. There's a book to go with every film, 8 books. 8 Bible study curriculums, and we're so excited. It launched last night on simulcast. People can watch it for free. Literally, the first film you can watch for free right now by going to buildingafamilylegacy.com. And then all 8 films are on video on demand, and they're going to be released real shortly.
All right, buildingafamilylegacy.com. That is terrific.
Yeah.
What was it like for your dad to go back and redo that?
You know what? It was so much fun. It was fun to revisit that. I mean, we're here at Family Talk now, and we get so many emails and posts on Facebook and tweets from families that are being saved by the work that we do. And it's the greatest feeling. I mean, the job we do is pretty heavy at times, but it's so worth it. And it's just been amazing with my dad. David Nixon is our director. Robert Wolgemuth's our executive producer. And that first film, Legacy, they filmed period-correct pieces around about 7 of my dad's stories, and they're really good. It is not cheesy. It's not B-grade. This is ultra-high quality, and that's the first film people can watch. It retells some of these stories in narrative form, and I'm telling you, I've seen it 20 or 30 times now. I cry every time. It's so good.
All right. Again, jot this down, buildingafamilylegacy.com. Now, Ryan, some of the other things you guys cover in there is your dad's books, Bringing Up Boys, Bringing Up Girls. Those are some of the things you highlight in the series, right?
Definitely. Lots of marriage, lots of parenting, Bringing Up Boys, Bringing Up Girls, Strong-Willed Child. Dare to Discipline, all of those early formative year parenting things, what to do with your teens and what with your little kids. I mean, I'm reading Dare to Discipline right now. I've got a 2.5-year-old and my son's going to be 8 in 2 weeks. It's right where I'm at. And so it was fun for me because all the things we talk about are literally right where I'm at in my marriage and my parenting. And if it's helpful for me, it's got to be helpful to other people.
All right, I kind of want to dwell there just for a moment. I mean, here you are, a young parent, and you discover your dad's material. He's been preaching this stuff for years, and you discover it for the first time. I mean, that in itself is quite a story.
It is. He teases me about it because I never read his books. I didn't watch the film series, but I really didn't have a need to. When it came out the first time, I was 9. I mean, there was no reason for me to watch it then. And then right when I needed it, Lincoln was 1. And Lucy hadn't been born yet. I had been married for 2 years, and it just came along at the exact right time where all those early formative stages in your marriage and all the early things in parenting, it just started hitting me right where I was at. And all my friends are there too, and I was giving it to them because I know it's helping me. It's got to help you guys too. And they said the same thing. And they're like, where do we buy copies?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. So I called my dad. He's like, Ryan, it's been out of print for decades. Nobody wants this. It's like everybody does, and it's true. But we're getting a huge response.
All right, I want to come back to the word legacy because it all starts with that. You start with your legacy. What are you trying to say to parents with the term legacy?
Well, there's an inheritance and there's a legacy. My dad talks about this a lot. An inheritance is something you give to someone. It's usually monetary in value. It's a college education or an endowment or property, a car, something like that. That's an inheritance, something you give someone. A legacy is what you put into them. It's character, it's faith, it's those types of things. It's those qualities that you put in someone. So we're trying to pass along to our kids. My dad uses the illustration of a relay race and a baton. And rarely does anybody drop the baton on the backstretch when they're by themselves. But it's when you're passing that baton off to another person that's where the fumble can happen. And that can happen with faith too. If you mess that up, they can drop that baton of faith and then never pick it up again. And so we're trying to teach parents not only how to be better parents, how to be better spouses, but also how to see your kids in eternity.
Wow. All right, let me take a quick break here, Ryan. We'll come back. We have Ryan Dobson with us today. By the way, they're offering the first one totally free on the website, buildingafamilylegacy.com. You can go there and watch the first film series right there, buildingafamilylegacy.com. And let me encourage you, just look for the book, get it, and the continuing series. I remember those series. That kind of dates me. But I remember when those series first came out and they went through the churches of America like crazy, like wildfire. In fact, that launched your dad's speaking career, didn't it?
Totally. Well, he had been speaking a lot, but it really did launch the ministry. That was not a product of his former ministry focused on the family. It was totally separate. But it came out in 1979. By the mid-'80s, 80 million Americans had seen it. I mean, it was 1 in 3 Americans had watched 7 hours of his teaching. And we're hoping to recreate it again.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Ryan Dobson.
All right.
Okay, we're back, and what a delight to have with us today Ryan Dobson. He co-hosts Family Talk with his dad, Dr. James Dobson, and we've been honored for over 30 years to air Dr. Dobson's program here on the Dove radio network all these years. And I've had the high honor of meeting your dad a couple of times. I had the very high honor of getting beaten in ping pong by Ryan just on 2 swipes. But anyway, they are involved in a series that I think is just so important and so life-impacting, and that is Building a Family Legacy film series and book. And by the way, you can watch the first one free by going to buildingafamilylegacy.com. And let me encourage you to do that. Now, incorporated into the series, Ryan, is your book, your latest book, Wanting to Believe. Give us a little bit of a tease on that.
It really comes from, it's based on the scripture in Mark 9, where there's a dad that comes to Christ, and he has been to all the disciples. He's been to the experts, and he's desperate. His son's he's possessed, and he's sick, and the dad doesn't know what to do, and he says, Master, if there's anything you can do for us, please have mercy. And the Lord says, if I can, all things are possible to him who believes. And the dad says, I do believe, but help my unbelief. And that's really, that sums up my kind of marriage, parenting, and faith journey. I do believe, but help my unbelief. Get me over those roadblocks, the obstacles. And I want to believe that the things my dad wrote are true, not just about faith, but about marriage and parenting. Is it really going to work if I apply Dare to Discipline with my kids? Are we going to have a good relationship? Are we going to love each other? We'll be close. And faith is what he's taught me all these years true. And now as an adult with 2 kids of my own, and I've been married for 9 years, it is true. I'm applying it to my life. And so it's kind of my life journey. And this book's special. They let me put photos in it. I've got 16 pages of photos. So when you read my life story, you actually get all the photos from those eras as well. You get me as a baby, me getting adopted, all the way through to my kids today. So it's really cool. I love the book. I'm biased, but I really, it's the first time I've written something where I didn't want to change it right when I was done.
That's great. Well, congratulations. And it's out there and available now, right?
It is. And my dad's book, Legacy, Your Greatest Gift, it's unbelievable. He didn't have time to do the audio version, and so I volunteered. It took 30 hours in a studio, but it's fantastic. You just can't put it down. The stories are so great. It's just, people are going to absolutely love that book too. So I encourage people to get them both.
I want to come to your generation. Do you think parenting today is different than when your dad was parenting you?
Absolutely. He'd say the same thing. And it's harder. It's not that it was easy when my parents were parenting. It's never easy. Parenting is really tough. Being married is tough. You got 2 individuals trying to exact their will over another person, and you've got that with kids as well. It's just harder today because every aspect of society, all of our culture, is trying to pull kids away from parents and away from the Lord. And so it's much, much harder. And we're busier. You've got kids in Awana and ballet and piano lessons and soccer and Little League and everything else that's going on. It's just we're so busy, and sometimes I think it's time to pull back. Maybe not do something every night of the week. Maybe have dinner together. Look in your kids' eyes, find out what they're doing, who influences them. It's harder today.
No. Let me ask you this. You talk about, and you and your dad talk about this a lot, especially on the program, about the culture today, somewhat, if I can use the term, blowing off church and Christians. It's just not part of, they think they're hypocrites. Is there hope for the church today? I know that your dad's very passionate about this. You are too. I listen to your program. Where are we in the culture with the church today, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's great work for the church. I think there's great hope for the church. I think we have a bit more of a cynical society today than we have before. I think people oftentimes throw the baby out with the bathwater, but they do it more with the church than anywhere else, and it's because we should have a higher standard. It's true. We should act differently than everybody else, and yet, with all the scandals with Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice, the NFL really isn't losing that much money. People aren't just saying, you know what, we're never going to watch it again unless you make a change. And that's why they're behaving the way they are. Those were atrocious, heinous things. Those guys ought to be in jail for it. And yet people don't leave the NFL. But if anything happens in church that we don't like, if your pastor says something you don't agree with, or someone's rude to you, or maybe someone doesn't just say hi to you one day, it's like, well, I'm never going back there again. And I think we kind of need to grow up a little bit and be there for the teaching, listen to the pastor, get some instruction, and put a lot into it. Maybe we should be saying hi to other people, greeting people, getting into a small group. Church is a great place. I was at a great church last night, so many good people, and it does give me hope. It gives me hope because there's a lot of great pastors doing some really good work.
That's wonderful. Talk to me about your generation's prayer life.
I think there's a lot of real big prayer warriors out there. I've watched my mom do that. When I was in grade school, elementary, and high school, my mom stayed home. She was a full-time employee. She put my dad through grad school and doctoral school when he got his PhD. And then when they had kids, she stayed home with us. And our culture today says, well, you got to have everything right now. You have to have a career right now. My mom's now been the president of the National Day of Prayer for 23 years. That's a pretty full career in my book, but she did it after we got out of high school. But I've watched my parents in their prayer life my entire life. You know, they were not real strict parents. If I was behaving, then I really didn't have a curfew my latter years in high school. And I'd come home late wondering if they were asleep. And I'd sneak past their bedroom and I could hear them praying for my sister and I. I'm adopted. After my sister was born, there were complications. My mom couldn't have kids on her own anymore. They prayed for 4.5 years before I came along. They pray for my sister and I every day. They now pray for my wife and my 2 kids also every day. That made a difference in my life, and it allows me to turn to the Lord when I'm in need, because I've watched my parents do it all the way through their lives. Through my dad's career, through my mom's career, through all the ups and the downs, they turned to the Lord, and that modeled behavior now allows me to do the same thing. And I think we can have a really vibrant, alive prayer life today.
That is a beautiful story, Ryan. You guys now, you're out with the beginning of Building a Family Legacy series. I'll ask you a little bit of a industry question here. What's your marketing strategy? How are you going to get this out to another 80, 100 million people?
We are doing a full court press. The simulcast is the beginning. We've got over 5,000 churches signed up for it. We've got lots of individuals signing up for it. And then via Family Talk, there's a huge online strategy, a big radio strategy, broadcasting via our podcast, everything else that we do. And then in 2015, we've got a lot of exciting things planned. We're talking about putting my wife and I and our 2 kids on a little bus and kind of touring around the country, going from church to church to introduce it to people. We're putting it in the hands of a lot of pregnancy resource centers for their parenting classes. And I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be more of a grassroots thing, because it really does work. It really works. And the things that work, I mean, when you find a great restaurant, you tell your friends about it, because you want them to experience it as well. And if the things that you're doing are working in your marriage and they're working with your kids, you're going to give it to your friends, tell your friends about it, because you want them to have that success as well.
That's beautiful. By the way, it deals with the first one, legacy, and then it goes bringing up boys, bringing up girls, love for a lifetime, strong-willed child, dare to discipline, straight talk to men, wanting to believe with Ryan Dobson. I mean, you really cover all the bases. What's the straight talk to men? What's that one?
Man, I was just recommending that to a friend yesterday. Straight talk to men. It used to be straight talk to men and their wives. And I think before that it was called What Wives Wish Their Husbands Knew About Women. And, you know, this is the thing. It's so beautiful. We're created so differently. I mean, it was a couple of years ago. I was with my dad, and I was asking him, my parents have been married for 54 years now. And I said, what's it like? And he said, you know, there are just days I wake up and I look at your mom and I say, who are you? You know, because they're surprising. It's mysterious. Our brains don't work in the same way. They work very, very differently. And that's how you can be married for 50 years, 60 years, and still be fascinated by each other, because we are so different. And there are a lot of things that wives wish their husbands knew about them. And so straight talk to men is just some of that nuts and bolts. These are the things your wives need from you. This is how you can be a better spouse and a better husband. And, you know, that's why dads become workaholics. They get so much praise at work because they can become successful at work. I know what to do. I'm given my tasks, and I know how to be successful there. And at home, sometimes it's crazy. You know, your wife thinks differently than you do, and it's hard to understand at times. And so men tend to head towards work more and more and more and away from the home. And this gives them the tools to be successful at home, because that's really what we all want.
Boy, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. You got 2 children. Any one of them strong-willed?
I've got one that's a little more feisty than the other, definitely. Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, both born from the same parents, same household, totally different personalities.
Yeah, they made a switch at the hospital. Didn't they tell you that?
Yeah, totally. But it's great. I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, it challenges us in totally different ways. They're both smart. They're both caring. But we've got an easier, compliant one. We've got a feisty one. And I'm not worried about either of them. They're great kids. And with all the tools that I've been given that I'm trying to share with others, I think we're all going to do a pretty good job.
Well, Ryan, you're a delight, and the very best to this to you and your dad and the team. And as you launch this, I can't think of a better time when our culture needs this. You know.
Thank you so much, Perry.
I really, you see it. You guys deal with it every day on your program. and the problems within Christian marriages and parenting and blended families and all of those issues.
Yeah.
Boy, if there's ever a time to bring it home, you guys have resurfaced this and repackaged it. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited for people to see it. I think it's really going to help a lot of people. They're going to feel good about their families, and it's going to draw them closer to the Lord, which is really what we're here for.
All right, check it out, buildingafamilylegacy.com. You can watch the legacy one there online. And then the full-blown series, what's the launch date?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday.
So you can get them all right now. Video on demand, all the films, and then the DVDs ship out shortly.
That's wonderful. Thanks, my friend. Best to you and your dad. And tell your dad, now, we are the place in Oregon. If you mention this to your dad, he'll know this. Tell him Rogue River Coffee Pot. Did he ever?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That's a story we tell all the time. I can't wait. We'd love to come back, too. It's a gorgeous area. I don't want to get stuck in the coffee pot, but I'd love to come back.
Well, that's in our backyard. And but listen, we won't take him down through coffee pot, but we will help him catch a salmon. And you, too. How's that?
Anytime. We'd love to come out. Thanks, Perry. We appreciate it.
All right. God bless you, Ryan. Best to you, friend.
God bless.
All right. We'll be right back.